So I'm standing at Gate 47 in Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, staring down at my boarding pass in complete horror, as this Southwest Airlines gate agent looks me dead in the eyes and says the words that would haunt me forever. Ma'am, according to our system, David Chen has been dead for 3 years, and somehow you've been flying on his ticket every single month. Now, what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you think you know about the person sitting next to you on your next flight. So let me rewind about 3 hours earlier to explain how I found myself in this absolute nightmare. My name is Sarah Martinez, and I was your typical frequent flyer. I worked as a marketing coordinator for a tech company in Phoenix, and every month, like clockwork, I'd fly to Denver to visit my mom who was battling Alzheimer's disease. Now, I was the type of person who had my travel routine down to a science. I always booked the same flight, always sat in seat 23A, always printed my boarding pass at home the night before, and always arrived at the airport exactly 2 hours early because that's just the kind of organized person I was. But on this particular Tuesday in October, something went wrong with my home printer. It ran out of ink halfway through printing my boarding pass, leaving me with this smudged, barely readable piece of paper. So I did what any normal person would do. I swung by my office on the way to the airport and used the old printer there to reprint my boarding pass. The thing looked totally normal when it came out. Southwest Flight 1247, T23A, departure 6:15 p.m. to Denver. Except when I glanced at it more carefully while waiting in the security line, I noticed something weird. The name on the boarding pass didn't say Sarah Martinez like it should have. Instead, it said David Chen. Now, at first, they figured this was just some kind of computer glitch. Maybe the office printer had cached information from someone else who'd used it, or maybe there was some weird mix-up with the airline system. I wasn't too worried about it because everything else on the pass was correct. My confirmation code, my seat number, my flight details, so I figured I'd just get it sorted out at the gate. But when I approached the gate counter and handed my boarding pass to Janet, this tired-looking gate agent, things got weird real fast. Janet scanned the pass, frowned at her computer screen, then scanned it again. Then she called over her supervisor, this stern-looking guy named Mike who'd clearly been dealing with airline problems for way too long. "Ma'am," Mike said slowly, looking back and forth between me and his computer screen, "this boarding pass belongs to a David Chen, and our records show that Mr. Chen has been flying this exact route, same flight, same day of the month, same seat for the past 6 months. I felt my stomach drop as I pulled out my phone to show them my email confirmations. "Look," I said, "here are all my booking confirmations going back 6 months. They're all addressed to me. They all show my credit card being charged." Mike looked at my emails, then back at his screen, and I could literally see the color drain from his face. "Ma'am, I need to ask you something important. Have you ever heard the name David Chen before in your life?" I thought hard, going through every David I'd ever known, every Chen, any possible connection, but I came up completely blank. "Never," I said. "I've never heard that name." That's when Mike excused himself and made a phone call that lasted about 10 minutes. And I started getting really nervous because I could see other passengers boarding my flight, and I was terrified of missing it and disappointing my mom, who was expecting me for our weekly dinner and movie night. This came back. He was carrying a printout, and he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "I've been working for Southwest for over 20 years, and I have never seen anything like this. David Chen was a real passenger who flew this exact route every month for business. But according to our records, his last flight was 3 years ago because he died in a car accident on his way home from Denver Airport." I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. "That's impossible," I whispered, gripping the counter to keep from falling over. "I've been taking these flights for 6 months. Mike nodded grimly and showed me the printout. "Here's what's really going to mess with your head. David Chen's monthly recurring flight bookings somehow reactivated exactly 6 months ago, right when you started flying this route. But the payment method switched to your credit card and all. The confirmation emails started going to your address instead of his. I stared at the paper, my mind racing to find some logical explanation. When Mike continued with information that made my blood run cold, we contacted David Chen's family when this started happening, 'cause they were getting notifications that he was flying again. And his sister told us something that's going to sound absolutely insane. David's elderly mother lives in Denver. She has Alzheimer's just like your mom. And for the past 6 months, she's been telling everyone that her son David has been visiting her every month. Same day you visit your mother. But she keeps saying David looks completely different now. Like he's a different person, but she figures it's just her memory playing tricks on her. I felt the world spinning as the horrible implications started sinking in. Are you saying I managed to get out that I've somehow been taking a dead man's flight to visit my mother, while his mother thinks her dead son is still alive and visiting her? Mike nodded, and I noticed other airline employees had gathered around, all staring at me with this mixture of fascination and fear. There's more, Mike said softly. We checked the hotel and car rental reservations that were linked to David's travel profile. And for 6 months, someone's been using his bookings in Denver. Same hotel he always stayed at, same rental car. And the hotel staff confirmed that whoever's been checking in looks nothing like the David Chen they knew. But the reservations are always valid and paid for. That's when my phone started ringing. And when I saw it was my mom's memory care facility, I nearly had a panic attack. "Hello, Miss Martinez," said Linda, my mom's nurse. "I'm calling because your mother is having one of her confused episodes. She keeps asking about someone named David Chen, saying he's supposed to visit her today, and she seems to think you and this David person are connected somehow. The strange thing is, she's never mentioned anyone named David before. But she's been talking about him every month for the past 6 months, always on the days you visit." I almost dropped the phone. As Mike gently grabbed my arm, "Ma'am," he whispered, "there's something else you need to know. David Chen's mother passed away last week, and according to his family, her final words were about how grateful she was that David kept visiting her every month, even though he seemed like a completely different person and couldn't remember any of their shared memories." I looked around at all the faces staring at me, then down at the boarding pass with David Chen's name, then at my phone where Linda was still talking about my mother's confusion, and the horrible truth started to dawn on me, somehow in some impossible way. I had been living a dead man's life for 6 months without knowing it, visiting his mother while thinking I was visiting my own. And now I had to face the terrifying reality that maybe everything I remembered about the past 6 months wasn't real, and maybe I wasn't who I thought I was at all. So, next time you print your boarding pass, check whose life you're really living. If this story gave you chills, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable during your travels?